I'm about to show you a little bit of footage of Justin Trudeau, so obviously the hypocrisy is going to be off the scale.
If it were not for global news, we would not have learned that the Conservative leader has been purposefully using his videos to appeal to far-right misogynistic online movements. These are anti-women movements, and they have had devastating real-life consequences. Mr. Speaker, I call on the Conservative leader to stand in this House, take responsibility, and apologize.
I condemned this organization, and I corrected the problem as soon as it became known to me, Mr. Speaker. But I condemn all forms of misogyny, including when the Prime Minister fired the very first female Indigenous Attorney General. When he mistreated minority young women in his own caucus who had to leave politics, and I condemn him for when he dressed up in racist costumes so many times he forgot them all. We condemn it always, Mr. Speaker.
Since then, I've realised he's an arch-narcissist, controlling, fascist sociopath. That's enough reasons there.
Just as well he became a politician then, because that's
so
exactly the qualifications that you need.
Absolutely. The specific reason I'm making him my plank is actually I am doing this on behalf of Canada. There have been 500,000 tweets in the last couple of days, all saying Trudeau must go. Now this has gone viral. It's a great Twitter trend, and what people are doing is saying who they are, what they do, and saying that their views are too extreme for Trudeau and Trudeau must go.
The choice made by the Conservative leader in reaching out to extremist online groups into, pulling in anti-women, misogynistic groups for his own political gain is one that he will have to answer for. I think women across this country want to know why he allowed this to happen and want to see him take responsibility for it.
Hey man, you're black. You are too. What the?
If you looked up the definition of hypocrite, it must have a picture of blackface Trudeau. The SNC-Lavalin scandal, the We Charity scandal, the blackface, and an entire textbook of other scandals that the Liberals have gotten away with.
I took responsibility and corrected it as soon as it became known to me. But the Prime Minister does not take responsibility for the extremism that he has funded. He funded a vicious anti-Semite to spread hatred online with taxpayers' dollars. He repeatedly, in fact so many times he can't even keep track, dressed up in racist costumes for which he has not ever come fully to account.
Trudeau came out to apologize for one blackface and ended up admitting to more. He's like, I did brownface for Aladdin and I did blackface when I sang the song Deo. And now if you'll excuse me, daylight's coming and me one go home.
And he drove many women of his own caucus out of the party and out of Parliament altogether with his mistreatment of them. We condemn all of that behaviour. We condemn misogyny always and everywhere, and we ask the Prime Minister to finally do the same.
And now Trudeau wants to triple the unfounded, unscientific carbon tax, all under the false, unscientific guise of the environment, of course.
Let's start by talking about fried green tomatoes. The little miracles of Manotick. Suntech Tomatoes, a beautiful little tomato farm about 40 minutes south of here, in the heart of the great Carleton riding, where some entrepreneurial farmers opened a greenhouse to sell beautiful local produce to residents in the area.
They're delicious.
They are delicious and they are legendary right across the region. Unfortunately, the farmers learned that the carbon tax the government applied would go on the CO2 that they release into the greenhouse. Now, of course, that CO2 is required to expand the growth and increase the produce that comes out of the greenhouse. This CO2 does not actually even go into the atmosphere. It goes into the plant life, something that the Liberals may have missed in grade 4 science class.
You know what? I'll let the Conservatives figure that one out.
But the reality is that it makes the tomatoes more expensive. So what is the consequence of the tax on these tomatoes? Well, it is at times more expensive to buy a Manotick tomato in Manotick than a Mexican tomato in Manotick. Why? Because the taxes are lower in Mexico, even though the pollution is higher. What does this price signal do? It tells the customer to buy a tomato from the other side of North America, which has to be trained and trucked all the way up to Canada, burning fossil fuels the whole way there and increasing emissions along the way. What happened to the local 100-mile diet that environmentalists used to promote? Well, this tax makes that diet more difficult and less affordable. Thus, the big logical fallacy of the Liberal carbon tax. It drives up the cost of domestic production and drives that production to foreign, more polluting jurisdictions that then require higher transportation costs and more emissions to bring them back to Canadian consumers here at home. Our approach should be exactly the opposite. We should bring production home, our food, our energy, our resources, right here in Canada.
And about that assault-style rifle ban that they're trying to push through, remember, styling has nothing to do with functionality. It's about taking away people's firearms if they look scary.
Owners of assault-style weapons have one more year to dispose of them. The federal government initially proposed a gun buyback program that would be operated by the private sector. Saskatchewan doesn't want the RCMP participating in any way.
These firearms that we're talking about in Saskatchewan belong to legal firearms owners, and they're licensed, they're heavily vetted and monitored by the Firearms Office.
Christine Tell has sent a letter to the head of the RCMP in Saskatchewan stating, "We will not authorize the use of provincially funded resources of any type for the federal government's buyback program." Saskatchewan pays 70% of the cost of RCMP policing in the province. Last week, Alberta made a similar request of the RCMP.
Then don't use provincial policing resources to take them off the streets and be distracted with implementing this program.
Now he wants to go after handguns too, but all he's managed to do is become the best handgun salesman in Canadian history. Every gun shop across this country is sold out.
It will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada.
$405 and Libby.